Tiffany Cloud, host of The Storm. Primary election day is May 21st. Be sure to exercise your right to vote. All of Hazleton is abuzz about the race for mayor. Joining me in studio today, the Republican incumbent mayor, Jeff Cusat. Thank you so much for coming on The Storm.
Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you back on The Storm, actually, but first time on this set. So I want to start by just saying thank you for your service to the city. I always respect and appreciate those willing to run and willing to serve, and for your decision to run again, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and I have a lot of questions I want to ask you about, but I want to start, Mayor, with the big thing that everybody's talking about, which is this rap that you did on the in the Hazleton Standard Speaker a couple days ago. Myself, everybody went out, we went to get our papers, we open it up, we look at what we think is the front page, and it's like, wow, the paper's really behind the mayor of Hazleton. And then it took a hot minute, and then I realized, oh, in fact, this was not the front page of the paper. It was an advertisement designed to kind of look like the front page of the paper, and then a series of pages after that. There are those who think that this is a brilliant marketing move, brilliant campaign move. And of course, there are those who think, wow, that's, maybe is it a bridge too far, making a campaign look so much like actual news. So I want to ask you about it. I'm sure you err on the side of this is sheer genius. So tell me about your thought behind this piece.
I mean, I've had 25 years of marketing experience. I've been in many campaigns now. I had the opportunity a few months ago to, the idea was for restaurants. They had one for auto dealers, then they had one for restaurants. My family took part in the rap a few months ago. And when it went out, it caused a stir because they did not have a headline on top. So people were like, where's the Standard Speaker? So they said, if we ever do it again, you would have to put the top on. And that's where I got the idea, well, if we're going to put the top on, let's make a newspaper. Because we were wrestling with the idea of, we've done so much, my team has done so much in such a short period of time. How do we tell people what we've done? We can't send out 1 million postcards. You can't do so many 30-second TV commercials. And we were contemplating on it. And I said, I'm going to put one big ad in, and I was wrestling with the idea of doing a full page, and then this opportunity came up. I'm like, I can't pass it up.
Okay, well, and I have to say, my background's marketing and advertising, so I'm always intrigued when anybody does anything out of the box. I haven't thought or seen something really this bold since the picketing chicken of the first Two Hill campaign. So I really want to, though, now dive in and talk about the content and the substance, not just of this ad, just in general of your campaign and of your service.
Sure. I mean, that entire article, 4 pages, was a summary of mostly articles from the Standard Speaker. They're summarized, they're brought down, but if you look through it, and nowhere in that does it say one time to vote for Jeff Cusat. It does not say that. It says you should vote. It says it's important you vote. And it tells you how to do a write-in, but it does not say anywhere, vote for Jeff Cusat.
Okay. I want to go back in time to the Hazleton that you inherited. Tell us about that and what you think has changed since then.
Well, I walked into, I got involved in Hazleton politics in 2011. I ran for council in 2013. So I sat on council for 14 and 15. And to me, it was a little dysfunctioning. At the time, the council did not like then Mayor Joe Yanuzzi, who he was trying very hard to get things done. And I was on a council that I was in between. I wasn't on the majority. I wasn't on the. I was there, and I just saw so much dysfunction between the legislation and the administration. So I wanted to make a difference. And we have no money. There was a council that was dead set on not raising taxes, not raising fees, not looking to do anything, and making budgets that were just unrealistic and filled with revenues that will never come through. And I just felt that there's no way the city could progress with false budgets. You know, you can't have a business without revenue. You know, and so you can't just say, hey, I'm hoping to sell this many gift cards. So I was really like, I had to get involved, and there was some, you know, dysfunction in some of the departments where, you know, the union workers didn't like the heads, and so there was just a really chaotic scene.
Okay, so it was contentious. It was a contentious situation. You ran for mayor. What do you think are some of your biggest accomplishments since you've been mayor of the city of Hazleton?
I think we united everybody.
Okay.
You know, the workers came together. You know, I took a different approach. The community itself, I opened my doors for anybody to come in. You know, I have a very open door policy. I put my phone number on the front page of the newspaper. I want people to call me. I want people to tell me what's good, what's not good, what they want to see done. You know, I take anybody that calls me for an appointment, I take it. If you walk in and I'm not doing anything, come on in. You know, I don't make people wait to come back. So I really opened up, and I think people started to accept me there. You know.
When you talk about having an open door policy, one of the things that your opponent has done is put out a statement about the need for more transparency, and in that is the implication that, well, you know, maybe you're not transparent enough. But you're saying, I have an open door policy. Where do you think the critique comes in on that front, and how do you challenge that critique?
I think her vision of transparency, or her definition of transparency, is more, why don't I include the council and other people into my meetings, into my decision making? I mean, if you recall back in the late 80s, mid 80s, you know, the city chose to go to a different form of government. They overwhelmingly requested that we go to a strong mayor with a separation of powers, a legislative, an executive, and a judicial branch, just like the federal government. And if you read that report, it tells you what they expect from the mayor and what you expect from council. And this was like when I was on council. Council tried to take Joe Yanuzzi's powers back then. They tried to take my powers. Now this council is also trying to impede on what my powers and what my job duties are. You know, their job is pure legislation. They are to make laws, create fines, create the budget, you know, and then they are the ones that actually implement new taxation. My job is to run the city and follow those ordinances that they put together by overseeing every department.
When you have departments and you have a position for hire, do you post all positions publicly?
Well, that's another.
And I ask that because that's a comment that your opponent has made.
There's 4 unions in City Hall. Police and fire, strictly civil service. DPW and the City Hall workers, they bid for the opening positions. So if like we just had somebody retire after 20-some years as a maintenance man, I have to post that job in City Hall, and anyone else in that union bids for that job. So whoever has the highest tenure could take that job, and that's what happened. So that opens up an entry-level job, which is usually filled by a part-timer that's already experienced in that job. Same with the DPW. You know, we have seasonal employees, so when a job opens, you kind of tend to, well, this guy knows the job, he's experienced, and we know how he works. So we kind of fill them. Very rarely do we just go pick somebody off the street. You know, my department heads, you know, they're my pick. You put them in front of council. Certain ones have to get approval, some don't.
Okay, okay. I want to ask you about the accomplishments as related to crime reduction, because obviously Hazleton for a long time, sadly, has had a bad reputation for high crime rates, and you know, we've made national news over it and some other issues, which isn't ideal. But when you came in, I mean, you're touting, for example, having a 44% reduction in crime under your tenure. I mean, that is quite a reduction. Why don't you tell us why you think that is the case?
Well, we have extraordinary men and women of the police department. When I first met the chief, back in 2015. I told him what I would like to see and what I envisioned. I'm not from the law enforcement background, but I'm like, being in the restaurant, I would hear people, I want to see more cops do this. I want to see cops walk the street. I want to be able to call. I want easy access, you know. And I said, these are the things that I want to see implemented. And he said, I could do that. I've done that all over the country. And that's why I said, will you come on board with me, you know, no matter what you can give me, I would appreciate it. And that's what we did. Like, we worked together. I mean, we would talk all night, 3, 4 in the morning. We'd be calling each other. We have this new idea. And he came in, and we implemented a lot of these procedures. You know, he calls them the 21st century policing, you know. So whatever he calls them, that's fine.
Right, lots of technology.
Technology, you know, I wanted to use it because I'm a math guy, and you know, the algorithm. So you know where the crimes are. So we pinpointed where the crimes are. You know, we know what bothers people the most. You know, being where I was, I know what bothers. I know where the speeding locations are. And people would tell me, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? So I would gather information, and that's where I asked him to focus his attention on. Mm-hmm. You know, and then when he came in, he did have the guys. You know, the morale was really up in the police department. We increased from 36 police officers to 40. And then we got the 2 more with the cops grant, so we're at 42. So we have, you know, a 15% increase in manpower also.
And that was funded how?
Through the cops grant.
Okay, through the cops grant. Okay. Where do you think you want to take policing next and crime reduction next? I mean, I know you want to make the very impressive 44 number, but go higher.
Well, you know, we just recently got a study done. We got a grant. And we did the study on where the crimes are, or where the calls come from. You know, right now, 51% of our calls show that they're noise complaints. So, I mean, it's a nuisance, but it's better than a violent crime, you know. So our police department is working extremely hard, but we need to focus on that now, the nuisances, you know. The noise is absolutely, you know, bothers people. Mm-hmm. You know, people still a little thing about walking down the streets. So, you know, now we will be starting, now that the weather's nice, to start to walk again, you know, the park and walk. And, you know, those select hotspot policing, as the chief calls it. Okay. And that's what I want to focus on. What bothers the people most is what we want to focus on. Okay.
One of the things that I know I've seen you very active in is working to increase recreational facilities all throughout the area, really. And I know with playgrounds has been a passion of yours, but just things to do. So tell us a bit about some of your work in that regard.
You know, I always thought it was important for families to spend time together. You know, some people can't afford vacations, and they don't have that week to go somewhere, so maybe they only have a couple hours. So, and they have, you know, living where I live in the condensed place, you don't have a big backyard, so you need somewhere to go play with your father, play catch, play basketball. So it really was important to me that kids had somewhere to go spend time with their family. So I wanted to try to revitalize all the parks and playgrounds. So we did. I mean, we spent a lot of money, a lot of time. My recreation director, Joe Zeller, he knew what my passion was, and we, you know, went after that. And I believe we hit 10 of the 12 parks. My focus now is on the dog park, the City View Park, what people, you know, they call it the dog park. We have big plans for up there. But that's why the recreation was important to me for the family aspect.
Right, and that's important too. I mean, it's related to crime also. If you want to get the younger kids off the streets and doing something productive as well.
And we did take this one of the aspects is cleaning up the playgrounds. So I don't know if you noticed, but like our Alt Miller playground, we put a ton of money into it. But we also went and took all the shrubs and overgrowth out. So that deters crime from being there. The downtown parks, we cut some of the trees down, took out the hedges. So all things like that, you know, help deter crime. And then, you know, I did start that program with the picnic tables. You know, my foundation has put permanent picnic tables at every playground, or we're on the path to put them at every playground, so that you do have somewhere to go have lunch and enjoy the weather outside.
Yeah, which is always a nice thing. Well, speaking of weather, I I remember, I think it was the winter before this one, we got whacked with a snowstorm. I mean, we got really whacked. And you did do an excellent job communicating to the people of the city of Hazleton and over-communicating, which I think was needed to the people of city of Hazleton, the fact that we had the challenge that we didn't have enough equipment to handle everything, and that you had been asking for equipment and trying to get equipment, but you've been working diligently, I know, since then, and all throughout your tenure on being able to access equipment. So share a bit of that.
Yeah, we did. I came into office that first March. We got destroyed with a snowstorm, and we had 7 plows down at one time. And that's when we just had enough. We said we can't be fighting these storms with our maintenance waiting for our trucks to get towed back to the DPW so we could fix our own stuff. So we set out on a plan to purchase multiple trucks. I wanted to finance them. Council did vote that plan down at first. But since then, we were able to secure 3 550s, like a medium-sized plow truck, and we've got 1 Freightliner, big one, and 2 more still coming. There's a 6-month wait time. So we got 6 new plow trucks, a loader, a street sweeper, all at no cost to the tax base, the
How
property
do you get
tax. We did some financing through liquid fuels and some grant money, but and then some matches, but none of it came through property tax money. We did the same thing with the emergency vehicles. I got a fire engine through community development, and then we got 3 chiefs vehicles through an LSA grant. Donald Leschko, amazing with his grant
And
writing.
fire engines are hundreds of thousands of dollars. People
yes.
don't realize how expensive they are.
We are in need of a new ladder and 2 other pumpers now, so we are looking to try to figure out a plan for that. It's $2.3 million.
Well, and I have to say, anybody who is mayor of this city, I have to admire the fact, because there is you could only, and I've used this expression a lot, it seems, this year, but you can't get blood out of a stone. It's hard. We only have so much money, so you have to get very creative as to the ways to be able to afford to get the things that we need to make things better. And it's almost like a chicken and the egg kind of thing.
Yes, we scramble around. My administration works diligently. I mean, I'm very demanding. When I told them all, they laughed at me. I said, I need you to be available 24/7. I don't think they really believed 24/7 was 24/7 with me, but there's nothing for me to call somebody at 1 o'clock in the morning. I have an idea, or 5 in the morning. So I'm very, focused on you live your life around improving.
Who's working on a lot of this is done through grant. Who writes the grants or applies?
Our department heads mostly.
Most of your department heads. Okay.
And the engineers. I mean, Don Leschko helps me with all my grants. I always kind of run them through. Joe Zeller administrates them all.
Do you think there's a need for a specific grant writer for the city, or no?
I believed we did need one. When I was on council, I put it forth. I wanted to hire a full-time grant writer. But now with my team in place, my administration, we do not. I mean, the police chief, the fire chief, the engineering offices, I can't think of a grant that we got denied on that we really, really needed. Now, we've gotten denied on some grants, we want things, but anything that we really needed, we were able to acquire through relationships, and working hard and diligently on. We've gotten almost $10 million. The city has gotten almost $10 million in grants.
It's impressive. Yes. It is. Okay, so I have to ask you about another thing, which you just hear. It's a word I heard so much in the last race, and even the mayoral race before that, and I think probably the one before that, and it's just the word potholes. So what's the plan?
Well, the potholes are a very tough thing. I mean, Pennsylvania is the worst roads.
Right.
However, we're very limited on the funding. Our roads are repaired using community development money, a percentage of community development money, and the liquid fuel money. Now, all the liquid fuel money is dedicated to street repair and street maintenance. Now, we took 15% of that and we put that towards equipment. So now we're left with, we get about $800,000 a year. So now we have to purchase rock salt out of that. We have to pay for our street lights out of that, and anything else that goes with the streets. And every other penny of that goes towards road repair. It's patching, paving, and so forth. Community development, we get about $600,000 a year now. 20% goes to administration, leaves us about $480. We put some of that towards recreation, lots towards safety, extra police patrols we're allowed to use. But community development money is restricted to certain areas of the city. So we come up with a plan which streets strategically need to be replaced. The liquid fuels could be used anywhere in the city. That when you use that, you have to be careful where you're going to utilize it. The community development, if you can only use that where there's low and moderate income families, the average wage. So a lot of sections of the city are not eligible for that. And then that money is also, we have the plans now. We have I think there's 18 streets on this list. Now, that community development money, it gets bid out, so we finally got the bids that be awarded, and then that money may not come in till September, depending on when the federal government releases it. Now, we have to hurry up and get those projects done September or October before the asphalt plants close. So community development is really hard to plan the projects out with. And then you're also stuck with the responsibility of doing the handicap ramps, which each corner you need the yellow bubbles.
Yes.
It costs $4,000 to $5,000. I'm sorry, $5,000 to $6,000 per corner. So you're talking $24,000 for each intersection. And then to mill and pave, it's about $30,000. So it's about $55,000 per block to do it properly. So we have 130 to 140 miles of road in Hazleton. That money that we have is maybe $700,000. It's tough to do. So we have to really strategically, do we do 5 or 6 little streets?
Right. Or do you pick the roads with the most traffic? Yeah.
Or do we try to patch and fill potholes as much as we can?
Yeah.
So we're very limited.
Okay.
So I mean, unless you're going to put a large chunk of money into the budget from property tax, there's really not much more you could do. The grants are hard to get for street repairs, so you're really focused on what you have.
I want to ask you also, just related to conditions of the city, about another popular thing that always comes up, which is urban blight, and the efforts that you've been undertaking to deal with that. I like demolition. The problem with going after properties to demolish is the time frames, and people have the rights. Just because we think that property needs to come down, the property owner still has rights, and there's a long procedure to go through to get that taken down. I mean, look, the Phoenix property sat there for how many years? The one on Church Street, it's 3 years it's sitting there. So that is scheduled to come down. Now we have people they're interested in buying it. So now you have to put that on hold. So a lot of those things come up, and you can't just go knock somebody's building down, even though to me it's blight. We don't like it, But even just I wish we had. There are some people in the city of Hazleton that have a great sense of home pride, and there are others that just let their properties look like garbage. And I'm not talking about, I realize that a lot of people are strapped for funds, but there's no reason to have literal garbage all over the place.
Well, a couple of problems with that is we have two full-time code officers and 1 part-time. To find all those, we need people's help. So a complaint comes in. We rely on people for their complaints and their concerns. So they give us the complaint. We have to go out there, inspect the property. We'll find the violation. We'll come back. We'll notify them. We have to give them a certain amount of time to remedy the problem. If it's not remedied, then we have to give them the citation. So I mean, it's a long process. So and then if they get to the end of that and they go to the judge or the magistrate and they remedy the problem, it could all start over again. Like it's just that the process is so long, and we don't have the manpower to keep on top of all of it. It's not like we have a large code office. I mean, we did have it up. I had some really good code officers for a while, but they left because they were offered jobs, you know, $50,000. We're paying them 20, they're offered 50. You know? So a lot of the problems we have with our hiring in the code department come back to the City Hall union refusing to negotiate the contract. And they're working without a contract for 3 years because they do not want to give healthcare contributions. So it's very frustrating. According to that contract, any employee starts at $20,000. It's pretty hard to find somebody that's going to do a dangerous job. Code enforcement is a dangerous job.
You're going, you're
Parking
knocking
enforcement.
you're knocking on a house and saying this is a mess and you need to do X, Y, and Z or you're going to get fined. That's not safe.
A lot of the houses the code goes to are the same ones that the police go to.
Sure, I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
It's a very dangerous job, and to pay somebody $20,000
right.
to go do it, it's...
In the closing minutes, I want to ask you, one of the jobs really of the mayor of this city and of any city is to be an ambassador for the city and to work also to bring industry into the city. Tell me about some of the things that you've done that you're most proud of during your tenure related to this.
You know, I've located some properties in the city and made them targets like that. I would like to find something to put in those. You know, back in 2016, the Poplar Street School was empty for 40 years. And I went there with the redevelopment authority and I tried the housing authority, and I really wanted to put housing units into that. And the contractors really had no interest in it. So it was kind of depressing to me that, but after we got, it was an article in the newspaper. The guy reached out from New York. He came in now and he's putting 18 living facilities in there. And then, so instead of tearing that building down, it's now going to be a multi-million-dollar property tax, property on the tax rolls. We talked to him, his name is Jose, and he then purchased St. John's School on Wyoming Street, another one that's sitting there dilapidated. He's going to put housing units in there. Obviously the potential manufacturing facility up in right off of 309 there. I've been working with those gentlemen probably from late 16, early 17 about doing some kind of project up there.
Okay.
So that's...
So you have a lot going on.
That would be a lot, you know, and there are a lot of small ones too. You know, we're helping small business moving into, but there are some of them that you see that that lot was empty for so long, 95 acres, you know, basically undeveloped land. Now they're going to come in here and they're talking $150 million investment. That's 15% of our property tax.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge number. Huge jobs, EIT tax. I mean, that could be a savior to the city.
Right. So we have about a minute left. Tell me in closing, what is your vision? Where would you like to see Hazleton if you are reelected? You make it through the primary, you make it through the general, you're reelected. What is your vision 4 years from now? What will we be seeing?
I'd like to continue the progress we're on. I mean, we're on a great strand here. You know, we're really moving in all aspects. We're moving forward. You know, my administration had one goal. We wanted to make a community that everyone was proud to call home.
Okay.
And everything around my administration that's what we're focused on doing.
Well, I wish you the best of luck in the primary, and again, thank you for deciding to serve. And remember, folks, when you look around, don't like what you see, don't complain about it. You can do something about it. You can vote on May 21st, and thank you for watching.